Say, I don't know you, Dan, but I love you. All right, 30 seconds from the start. 2, 1, go!
Welcome to the 2018 Traverse City Trail Festival race, just south of Traverse City, Michigan. I am Rob, and this is Bike Life with Rob. This was the 25, aka 27.5 mile version of the race, and this is the start, and we are off. First part of the course, we go up a decent hill. As we crest the hill, we've got K-Mac, A-Mac, Johnny 5, G-Man, Uncle Paulie, Little Z, myself, Lockdown, and Double R. Johnny 5 takes advantage of the open road and passes me. And as we head into the single track, A-Mac follows right behind me. I'm not sure who's leading right now. I couldn't get his plate number clear on my GoPro, but we have Uncle Paulie up there, we have the G-Man, K-Mac, Johnny 5, myself, A-Mac's right behind me, and behind him I think is Little Z, and then we have Double R and Lockdown behind him, who are on my team in the red. You can see we've got a pretty big train here. It gradually fizzles out and goes down to about 8 guys in a little bit here. My goal after about 5-6 miles is to be in the top 5 positions. Right now I'm not too worried about it. I'm thinking that someone will probably drop off the front, and then I'll be in that 5th position, which is actually starting to happen here. This is the guy, don't know his name, but got up the hill first and let us out. A-Mac and I make our way around him, and that kind of separates the rest of the field for a little bit. So you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us here in the front group. 4 in front of me, myself, and then 1 behind me. I will say that some of the single track was very bouncy, and my butt was sore for a couple days after this race. As my teammates Double R and Lockdown are making their way up, A-Mac makes a move on the wide trail here and gets in front of me. I didn't like it, so I announced to my teammates to get on the red train because we're going to go to the front.
I'm on board the red ride.
I made my move, and I was hoping that Double R and Lockdown were going to come with me, but they stuck on the back of on the train here, and I just wanted to get into 2nd position just in case I felt like I needed to go a little faster. So during that move I just made, I passed Johnny 5, A-Mac, G-Man, and K-Mac. And you'll see that I'll sit here behind Uncle Paulie for quite a while. It's always tough in a race to make the decision to go off on your own. If it's single track and stay single track like this, more than likely you can get away if you put a good effort in, but if you go onto open roads and stay on open roads, the rest of the guys can work together and pull you back in. So it's tough. I was kind of trying to feel out when to make a move and when to go in the front, because I did feel the pace was a little slower than I wanted to go.
Go, go, go. You all right? Sure? Pedal clip. Sure, you're good. Your pedal hip stump. Your left foot did. Sure you're good? Sure you're good?
Uncle Paulie clipped something and went over the bars, and I really wanted to make sure he was okay. My intent there was to pull up next to him just to make sure he looked good on the face, because he kind of landed and I wanted to make sure he didn't bash his face on anything and that he looked like he was doing good. And when I went up next to him, he said he was good, but then he told me to go ahead. So as I start to go out, I'm just kind of thought I was keeping the same pace, and all of a sudden I heard someone yell that I was getting a gap. And so then I really just started to hammer, and I felt like I could separate myself from the group. The course was in perfect condition as far as traction goes. The rain the day before really made it awesome. I wish that little piece of mud wouldn't have gotten on the rear camera, because it really kind of blocks right in the middle, and it's hard to see when there's someone behind me. But at this point, I kind of pulled a little ways away, and you really couldn't see anyone behind me on the single track here. When we got back onto the road coming up, they did start to draw me back in. You'll see K-Mac pop out of the single track right about there, and then the rest of the group comes out right behind him about 5-10 seconds later. So on this road here, I kept about the same distance from K-Mac until we got to the turn, and the group started to pull into K-Mac a little bit. Right here I almost crashed because it's a pretty sharp turn, loose sand. I almost went down, but I was able to hold on to it. The rest of the group is passing me right about now on the road as I'm on the single track. So again, not that far behind, and K-Mac does draw me in as we start to approach people from the other race.
Oh, it's so rough on my butt. I can't stop bouncing off my seat. We're about halfway, I thought. Thank you. Just two. Thank you. Whoa.
It was nice to have company. K-Mac and I talked for a few minutes while we were together, and then, like he said, he had burned quite a few matches, he said, to catch up to me, so I wasn't trying to, but I started pulling away from him again and passing other people into the race. At this point, I think someone said I had, I don't know, 30 to 45 seconds on everyone. I made 4 big mistakes in this race. 1 was I did not pre-ride the finish. 2 was right up here. For some reason, my brain switched to following the red, and I turned to go for the other race right here, which was the wrong turn.
Shit. Almost followed the pink. I'm good. Yep.
on the roads here, I started to get a little nervous as I knew the pack would start to draw me in. The open roads, the drafting, the switching the leaders. My third mistake came from my first mistake of not riding the finish. So I misjudged how many miles I had left. My Garmin said I had about 23 miles left when I first saw these guys starting to catch me. So my thing was to pull up and let them get next to me and follow them for a few, 4 miles until we got close to the finish. When I pulled off my pace, it took them about 40 seconds to catch up to me. 20 seconds later, I made my next mistake, thinking that G-Man up there who just passed me missed the turn because I thought we turned right there left onto the single track. So you see my tire stops completely. I'm in a big gear. The rest of the group catches up now. And right now at about 30 seconds, I realize that this hill is the finish. And I just messed up the race. Instead of pushing hard for another minute and getting down this hill, I totally gave the race away. I'm glad I was able to get over it after a few hours with some jokes. You see K-Mac went whizzing by in the Peter Sagan position. Another bad thing is because I had slowed down, I had sweat that got into my right eye right through this section, so I really couldn't see the trail. And for anyone that was racing coming down that hill, not knowing what this trail was going to do was a little scary with just one eye that was trying to stay open. Hopefully you learned from my mistakes. This overall was a great experience. It was a great race, fun guys to race with, and I would do it over again. So hopefully next year it gets on my schedule and the weather cooperates. Finishing up here, G-Man takes the win. K-Mac is coming in second right in front of me there. Uncle Paulie comes in fourth, and I think that's Johnny 5 in fifth. Thanks for racing with me today. Be sure to share and subscribe, and look out for the next race, which will be Big M. That footage should be coming out soon.